Right, talk to me about any questions, Richard?
Say, Kose Lesotho Irbagat pay South Africa.
Okay. I was not expecting such a good question from you. I must say, I'm impressed. Okay. You must know that we cannot talk about Lesotho without mentioning a man called King Moshoeshoe. Right? King Moshoeshoe. It looks like King Moshoeshoe. King Moshoeshoe the first. So, all right, let me write this here so that munosbata again the. So this is what happened. So you know during Shaka's reign, right? During the reign of King Shaka Zulu, the period 1818 to 1828, Mufekani is happening, which was a time of crushing, which resulted in many people being dispersed due to the conflicts that were happening. So this guy now, King Moshoeshoe, he was a man who was trying to avoid conflict and avoid war. He was a strategic guy. So he said, let's move away. So they moved to this place, Taba Bosiu. Bosiu. You know, this is not our language. But basically is Bosiu. A mountain in the night. Mountain in the night. Saka, this was a mountainous area. Why live in a mountainous area after running away from war? This is strategic because it is difficult to attack because they can see you from afar, they can retaliate, they can even counter-attack before you attack. So they are now living in this mountainous area. So I'm going to Lesotho. So King Moshoeshoe was leading the Basotho people. Right? But we pronounce it as the Basotho people. So he is the king of the Basotho kingdom. So then they settle in this place here. In 1824. Right? But because this guy was a strategic and a diplomatic guy, what he also did is he tried to obtain good relations. South Africa, much. We are here in South Africa, right? Down here at the Cape Colony, we have the British. Right? And somewhere up there, in the Transvaal area, we have the Boer. And the Boer and the British are not getting along. According to so these guys were not getting along. So the Boer started doing raids to Avaita, Vachuana more territories, displace our say the British are also developing this area. Cape Colony is becoming more developed. And there were some of the Boer people who were actually present here. But because of the developments, these guys, they were accustomed to rural life. Yeah, we are going to touch this later. But I want you to see the stage. First, we set the what is in there? The stage. That's what we said. So, during the period of 1837 to 1855, what King Moshoeshoe was doing, Pampanema missionaries, Vaito we run now. These missionaries introduced things such as printing in the Sotho language. They taught these guys how to read and also how to write, these missionaries, due to the diplomatic relations of King Moshoeshoe. So now what started happening is the Boer vakatanga yainzi the Great Trek, and they were trekking vachipinda occupy my territories. But the British did not want that. They didn't want them to have power. So in 1843, let's go. In 1843, the British and the Basotho under King Moshoeshoe, they formed an alliance in 1843. So this alliance was to, the alliance, it was benefiting the British because it would stop the what? It would stop the Boers from kupinda mkatum. Because right area disturb high, weaken them. And then it would also provide protection from other attacks. Because we are attack the Boer, we are also in Magrico. History. These guys would come on horseback. So anyway, in 1843, they signed what was known as the Napier Treaty. This was the governor in the British colony. This was the governor Heinz Napier. So they signed the Napier Treaty, and then they formed this alliance in 1843. Later in 1848, when the governor had changed, kwakauya a new governor. Ainzani Harry Kane, Richard, what's wrong? Harry Smith. So this one signed a new treaty. This new treaty signed declare these guys are now getting what was known as paramount power over the Lesotho kingdom, but still the chief would maintain his traditional rights. Saka tingati colony is not yet fully a protectorate, but vangowana ma rights avo avangavagara vainawo. Saka you must know kuti paitika the great trek, the Boer. I'll give you an interesting thing. I want you to listen to this one. Ukatasa the Boer, pavaita the great trek, they were trying to move away because they really like the idea of preserving their Boer culture, nema traditions, culture and tradition. That's what they like to do. In 1991, it's a separate issue, but just to show you pattern of behavior. In 1991, do you know to South Africa, there is a place called Orania. And this place is fully occupied by Boers. Richard there are only about 3,000 residents in Orania. And vanotoshandisa currency yavo yega inonzi the ora. South Africa in the Northern Cape province along the Orange River. There are about 3,000 residents. They have their own currency, not the ora, which is at par with the rand. Soon after apartheid, when apartheid was abolished, we're going to touch on apartheid very soon. When apartheid was abolished, what these guys did, they formed this place that we are doing it for self-preservation and self-determination, so that they preserve their culture and their way of doing things. So this is just to show you, even by a great trek, these guys were trying to move away from people and be isolated. Now we move forward. In 1867, due to numerous wars that were happening between the Boer and the Lesotho, na King Moshoeshoe, and these guys then spoke with the Queen, made an appeal. A protectorate. They became a protectorate. Now, the difference between a protectorate and a colony is that with a colony, the colonizer is actually occupying the territory, effectively running and using that territory. But with a protectorate, you are saying there is a bigger power or a greater power that has control over a territory, but not essentially occupying that. What are some of the reasons? Some of the reasons sometimes is kumsoro kunenge kune an enemy yenyu handitika imi muri Britain muri kuzasi kuno kumsoro kune an enemy yenyu, then there's a territory pakati pana iri neutral so far. But you know, if your enemy occupies this territory, they are now close to you. So what do? You are not also interested in this country. You just make it a protectorate. So they have created a buffer between you and your enemies. But of any value to you. So anyway, this went on, and then remember, the rest of South Africa, our very kingdom, and the Lesotho kingdom, the rest of South Africa, but in 1910, there was what is known as the Union of South Africa that was formed. So what the British did was they actually approached, number one, Botswana land, which is now Botswana. They also approached Basotho land, which is now Lesotho. They also approached Swaziland. Vakati, can you become a part of the Union of South Africa. South Africa tadzinga the Boer takunyatsorana chinhu chete tokubatana toita one nyika. Ava veBotswana vakaramba. The Lesotho the same thing, they also refused. Neave Swaziland vakaramba. Ava manje the Lesotho, the reason why they refused, number one reason, the chiefs did not want to lose power. Number two, these guys had gone for decades, right, fighting the Boer. So they did not then want to have a government that is being run by the same people that they have been fighting and resisting for a very long time. So vabva vatosiya vakadaro, vabva vamaintaina sovereignty yavo vakangodai. And then in 1965 they finally held elections. In 1965 they finally held elections. And then there was the BNP part, the Basotho National Party. Yakabva yauya ndokubva yawina ma-elections. So it won elections in 1965. And then on October 4, 1966, the British flag officially went down and Lesotho became recognized as an independent country. So this is how they then got their independence. So currently now, what is their relationship like with South Africa? These guys, they enjoy a mutual trade. What is it that we can provide you guys with? And what is it that you guys can give us as well? So Lesotho provides water to South Africa. They export water. And per year they are paid around 200 million United States dollars from Vura. And then in exchange, there is also what is known as the Lesotho exemptment, Lesotho exemption permit. Inotendera munhu yokuLesotho kuti akaenda South Africa anogona kushanda asina kubvunzwa zvakawanda zvasiyana neyekuno unobvunzwa zvakawanda. Right? 95% of the fuel inoshandiswa muLesotho comes from South Africa. So basically in the fuel and energy sector, vanosabudwa neSouth Africa.